Imagine a world where every second of your existence is meticulously engineered to feed an insatiable hunger for stimulation, where the boundaries between freedom and bondage blur beneath the seductive glow of endless entertainment, a realm where algorithms whisper promises of euphoria into the pockets of billions, conditioning humanity to mistake distraction for liberation. This is not a distant dystopia. It is our present reality. A civilization teetering on the edge of what Aldous Huxley called the ultimate revolution, where control wears the mask of consent and oppression feels like choice. The crisis lies in our collective blindness. We've become willing participants in our own subjugation, trading sovereignty over our minds for the cheap thrill of viral trends and algorithmic validation. Neuroscientists confirm this paradox. Dopamine, the very chemical that once drove us to explore forests and build civilizations, now chains us to screens, transforming curiosity into compulsion. The data is undeniable. A 2023 MIT study revealed that the average person checks their phone 144 times daily, their prefrontal cortex hijacked by what psychologist Adam Alter terms behavioral cocaine. Yet beneath this frenzy lies a haunting void. The more we consume, the emptier we feel. Trapped on what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, running tirelessly toward a horizon of satisfaction that forever retreats. This is the grand illusion of modernity. A pantomime of freedom performed on a stage built by Silicon Valley architects, where every like is a shackle disguised as a reward. Huxley's Brave New World warned of a society anesthetized by pleasure, its citizens docilely surrendering to a regime of sensual pacification. His fictional Soma, a drug ensuring perpetual contentment, has found its real-world counterparts in TikTok's endless scroll, Netflix's autoplay hypnosis, and Amazon's one-click dopamine hits. These are not mere tools but systemic architects of passivity, weaponizing our biology against us. Consider the testimony of tech whistleblower Frances Haugen. Meta's algorithms, she revealed, prioritize profit over mental health, pushing 13-year-olds toward eating disorder content because engagement, not ethics, dictates their code. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han dissects this phenomenon in The Burnout Society, arguing that digital capitalism has replaced overt oppression with subtler tyranny. The neoliberal subject is entrepreneur and commodity simultaneously, exploiting itself without need for masters. Even our relationships suffer. Researchers at UCLA found couples spend 33% less time conversing face-to-face than in 2010. Their attention fragmented by the phantom vibrations of apps and phones. The tragedy is threefold. We lose presence, depth, and the quiet spaces where true selfhood emerges. Ancient Stoics like Seneca foresaw this, writing, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere," a prophecy fulfilled in our age of perpetual distraction. Beneath this crisis lies a biological betrayal 300 million years in the making. Our Paleolithic brains, evolved to crave calorie-dense foods and tribal status, now collide with a world of infinite sugar, infinite porn, infinite validation. Stanford neuroeconomist Brian Knutson's fMRI studies show how slot machine-like app designs activate the nucleus accumbens, the brain's craving center, with the precision of a Vegas casino. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, seat of wisdom and restraint, goes offline, overwhelmed by what author Johann Hari calls the psychic equivalent of being slapped in the face with a shovel every 20 seconds. This neural hijacking creates what anthropologist Natasha Dow-Scholl terms the machine zone, a trance-like state where time dissolves and identity evaporates. Consider the rise of doom scrolling. 68% of Gen Z admits to losing hours nightly to this digital self-harm, chasing crisis updates like lab rats pressing shock levers. Even our bodies rebel. Harvard's 2024 Screen Time Report links excessive device use to reduced gray matter density, impaired memory, and a 43% spike in ADHD symptoms. Yet the system thrives on this dysfunction. Every click funds a $7 trillion attention economy that views human consciousness as its raw material. Philosopher Gunther Anders named this the industrialization of the human soul, a process now reaching its zenith. Breaking free demands nothing less than a revolution of consciousness, a reclaiming of the mind's terrain from corporate colonizers. It begins with recognizing that every notification is a micro-coup against your autonomy. Every autoplay episode a theft of your finite mortality. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius laid the blueprint. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Modern psychology echoes this. Dr. Anna Lemke's Dopamine Nation prescribes radical dopamine fasts, periods of intentional deprivation to reset desensitized reward pathways. Buddhist teacher Tara Brach reframes this as the RAIN technique. Recognize the craving, allow it without judgment, investigate its roots, nurture a wiser response. Practical steps emerge. Delete shopping apps after 8 p.m. Use grayscale phone displays to reduce visual allure. Schedule sacred hours for deep work. Philosopher Simone de Beauvoir's ethic of ambiguity becomes vital. Embracing life's discomforts as the price of authentic freedom. History's luminaries prove this path. Van Gogh painted starry nights in asylum confinement. Mandela cultivated hope from a prison cell. Helen Keller transcended blindness to champion human dignity. Their lives whisper a timeless truth. Chains shatter when we stop pulling at pleasure's leash and start forging purpose's sword. As Jung declared, the foundation of all mental illness is the avoidance of legitimate suffering. A call to trade anesthesia for awakening. The choice is ours. Remain comatose consumers in Huxley's soma stupor or rise as conscious architects of a nobler existence. And so we arrive at the precipice of choice. A moment where the weight of centuries of human striving collides with the seductive inertia of the digital age. The question is no longer whether we are enslaved, but how we will break free. For millennia, humanity's greatest battles were fought against visible oppressors. Tyrants, plagues, scarcity. But our modern war is against an enemy that lives in our pockets, our neural pathways, our very dreams. This is not a call to reject technology but to master it, to wield it as a tool rather than kneel before it as a deity. Consider the paradox. The same platforms that fragment our attention also connect us to global movements for justice. The same algorithms that addict us can, if harnessed, disseminate wisdom at light speed. The path forward demands what economist E.F. Schumacher termed Buddhist economics. A philosophy where growth is measured not in GDP but in the depth of human flourishing. Ancient traditions converge with futurist visions here. The Stoics' a more fatty love of fate meets the transhumanists' quest for cognitive sovereignty. To navigate this, we must resurrect forgotten arts. Silence in a world of noise. Boredom as a crucible for creativity. Solitude as the forge of selfhood. Neuroscience confirms this. MIT's 2025 Brain Plasticity Report reveals that just 20 minutes of daily meditation restructures the amygdala, reducing anxiety while expanding cortical thickness for strategic thinking. Meanwhile, anthropologists document the rise of neo-monastic communities, urban dwellers who voluntarily adopt digital minimalism, reclaiming time for philosophy, craftsmanship, and communal feasts where phones are ritually buried in a tech coffin at the door. These pioneers embody what sociologist Hartmut Rosa calls resonance, a life in sync with self, others, and the cosmos, rather than racing on capitalism's hamster wheel. Yet liberation cannot be outsourced. It begins in the micro-decisions of your day. The next time your hand reflexively reaches for your phone, pause, let that moment stretch into what poet Rilke termed the breathing space where emptiness intensifies presence. In that void, ask, does this serve my humanity or diminish it? This is the essence of Sartre's existentialism. We are condemned to freedom, tasked with inventing ourselves anew with every choice. The stakes could not be higher. Climate collapse, AI ethics, geopolitical fractures, all demand minds capable of long-term thinking, empathy, and moral courage. Yet how can we address planetary crises if we cannot master our own impulses? The answer lies in what theologian Abraham Heschel called radical amazement, a rediscovery of wonder in the ordinary, from the fractal patterns of a leaf to the vulnerable gaze of a loved one. These are the antidotes to the nihilism of infinite scroll. They remind us that joy, true joy, is not a product to consume but a practice to cultivate. History whispers guidance. When the printing press threatened to overwhelm Renaissance minds, humanists like Erasmus curated commonplace books, Journals where wisdom was distilled, not hoarded. Today, we might curate our digital ecosystems with equal care, following digital ethicist Tristan Harris's mantra. Replace time spent with time well spent. Imagine a world where social media platforms reward depth over outrage, where attention wealth replaces attention wealth. This utopia is not naivety. It is a fight against the trillion-dollar attention industrial complex, a fight to redefine progress, a fight to remember that we are not users, we are souls. The journey ahead is neither easy nor linear. There will be relapses into distraction, nights lost to algorithmic siren songs, but each act of resistance, a book read, a conversation savored, a walk taken without headphones, plants a flag in the soil of your autonomy. These are the seeds of what author James Bridle calls the new dark age. Not an era of ignorance, but a conscious turning away from the blinding glare of screens to rediscover the constellations of meaning overhead. In the end, Huxley's warning was not a prophecy but a challenge to choose between the soma of complacency and the sharp, awakening pain of authenticity, between existing as a data point in Silicon Valley's ledger or standing as a sovereign entity in the grand human story. The hour is late. The algorithms never sleep. But within you burns a spark no AI can replicate. The irreducible fire of consciousness itself. Guard it, feed it, let it illuminate not just your path, but the way for others. For in that collective awakening lies our only hope. A future where technology elevates rather than erases. Where pleasure is a seasoning to life's feast, not its entirety. The chains are yours to break. The world is yours to reimagine. Begin.